All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Sports Business Insider. I am Denzel Snipes, aka Denzel the Sniper. We're live right now on my Twitch. Also, this is Sean Russey, former MLB and NFL agent, and we are here to bring you the business side of sports contracts and lawsuits, court cases, things like that. But before we get started, we want to let everybody know that we are live right now on my Facebook, Facebook, Sideline Sports Facebook, JBS is LinkedIn. And you know what? Hang on a second. Let me type up a new banner. Y'all excuse me for a second, 'cause I sure forgot. Hang on one second. So, one of the co-owners of the network, JB Ellis. Today is his born day. So just want to wish a happy born day to the kid JB Ellis. I hope you went out there in downtown Chicago, ate a few hot dogs, maybe a slice of pizza, and drank like 6 beers or something like that. Or get a whole bottle of whiskey. In fact, get J&B Scotch whiskey. It's really good. Well, I mean, for the price of one. But listen, hey, it's your day, big dog. Thanks for everything you ever done for everybody at Sideline Sports Network. And here's the big and greater things. Happy birthday. I wish I had something to toast, but I don't have a drink right now. But happy birthday, JB Ellis. And everyone, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Also on my Twitch as well. We're live on my Twitch. JB Ellis on X, Sideline Sports on YouTube, JB Ellis LinkedIn. We got a lot of great shows week in and week out. Namely, if you look at the ticker at the bottom of the screen, Sideline Sports Show, which is Tuesdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Sideline Sports Network. We had a great show last night. You can go on any of our platforms and look for the episode. I commonly go to YouTube. It's just easier for me. But last night we talked about we debated on who was the Olympic GOAT of all time for Team USA. We went by medals, total impact, the whole 9 yards, and then also we talked about the controversial finish in the 100 meter. Noah Lyles winning gold for the United States. All that and more. Go and check us out every single Tuesday. Top Rope Talk, Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Sideline Sports Network. This past episode was the SummerSlam recap episode from a loaded PLE just this past weekend. So, absolutely, it's all pro wrestling all the time. Here in the coming weeks, we're going to have the AEW All In preview and, of course, the recap episode. So, you don't want to miss that one. The Wrestling Professor Billy Cruz will be with me next week's episode. So Monday, 7 Eastern Standard Time. Hawk Talk, Dave DeRocher and Walt Thurman III. That's Tuesdays at 9. No, hold on a second. 10. That's 10 Eastern. Yep. Okay, let me change that time. It's actually 10 Eastern on the Sideline Sports Network. It is all Seattle Seahawks all the time. They have had classic Seahawks players come on there. Let's see, Norm Johnson was on this past episode. Hall of Famer Steve Largent was on the episode. I met Steve Largent at Super Bowl week this past February. Awesome, humble dude. They have 12 fans coming on there. So if you are a Hawks fan, or maybe you're a 49 or a Rams fan, or a little punk ass, Cardinals fan or something, they want to come on there and talk a little trash to them. Hey, all banter is welcome. Just check out the show. Hawk Talk, Dave DeRocher, Walt Thurman III, the Legion Boom Zone, Tuesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern on Sideline Sports Network. Man, I did 4 minutes worth of talking. I at least need a 30-second break. So, Sean, let us know how you're doing, man.
Everything's good, doing good, and happy birthday to JB. We'll do a couple follow-ups while Denzel catches his breath. So one of the follow-ups we have for you today is on Marvin Harrison and his NFLPA dealings in the Fanatics case. The NFLPA has advised the Cardinals and Fanatics neither of them are permitted to sell his jersey at this point. And the belief is that the request has actually come from Harrison's agents. The PA has decided to honor this request. And my thinking is, it's a way to hopefully force Fanatics into settling, as the case is kind of stalled right now and waiting to go to trial. And I'm thinking that they want to get out of the contract, but they'll also settle for some some reasonable amount. But I think it's a power play on Harrison's team's part, um, in terms of why they're not allowing the jersey sales right now. And it again, and we've mentioned before, the only way where you can get a jersey right now is on Marvin Harrison's personal site, and that will come without logos.
Okay. Um, I mean, that's going to be the next best thing that you can get until they reach a deal and you want something official. It looks like Marvin Harrison. So, question for you, Sean. Do you think that all of this is stemming from he must have a team behind him that is like, listen, nothing is guaranteed in the NFL, so get all the money you can, the most in as many ways as you can. The whole whenever we were coming up and everyone was saying, like, hey, everyone's one play away, right?
Yep. Yep. No, and it's still true. I mean, obviously these days guys can come back from more serious injuries than they used to back in the day, because there's different ways to do different surgeries now with stem cell research and things like that. So there's different ways to handle you know sh- the major injuries. So there is possible comebacks, but what a major injury could do, especially in a young career, in terms of what it could do to the brand, you're absolutely correct. That the amount of financial, monetary value that the hit it would take, you really can't put a number on. Especially someone like Marvin Harrison, the number 4 overall pick, expected to be one of the number 1 receivers in his prime, years down the line, just like his father was. It would be hard to put a number on what he would be losing. God forbid he did get injured, and then he's just not the same player. Let's say
Right,
he's able to come back, but then he's just not the same player, and then all of a sudden your branding offers aren't the same either.
right. Right, absolutely. And so, with that being said, we'll shift on over to hey, you guys thought it was over with? Not yet. More NFL Sunday Ticket. So, Judge Gutierrez set aside the verdict. Apparently, there were flaws in the testimony of two expert witnesses for the plaintiffs, Dr. Rash and Dr. Zona. The judge noted that without these testimonies, though, no jury could have found class wide injury or damages. Testimonies were not of sound economic methodology. Sean, you want to explain on, well, expand on anything?
Yeah, so this is the story just keeps giving to us. We thought it was over when they came out with the numbers, and now it was rumored around the numbers were a little high at first. I didn't think it was going to reach to the point that someone would actually overturn it. But the judge's explanation was, for Dr. Rasher's testimony, there was no explanation given on how out of market telecast would have been available without an additional subscription. So you would have had to have DirecTV on top of something to still get the blackout games. But there was no explanation on how that would work, or how that would help, or possibly even raise the price, which would help the NFL's battle even more, right? If a doctor's up there saying, actually, you're not charging enough. um, and then in Dr. Zona, he said there was flaws in the multiple distributor model that he provided as an example, that predicted that consumers would have paid more for other services besides DirecTV. I think again, it's hard to say that. Is Are the Cleveland Browns going to charge the same amount that the Los Angeles Rams are going to charge for a streaming service? I highly doubt it, unless the league comes out and says everybody has to charge the same exact price. So it'd be very interesting to see, not only where else this is going to go when it gets to the appeals, but what the plaintiffs will now do in terms of calling new expert witnesses, since these guys have been essentially discredited by the first judge. Um, the cross examination brought out the flaws that the judge noted, and he also stated that the jury failed to follow his specific instructions when it came to determining the verdict and the penalties, and that's Rule 702. And that's why he decided to throw out or set us not throw out, but set aside the verdict, and now it goes back to the Ninth Circuit for more appeals.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. And so, whew, how much further do you see this going? Because for a second we thought it was over.
Yeah, and it did look like it was done. The NFL walked away with a pretty small number based on the predictions. Obviously, the NFL had always intended to appeal it. I don't think the NFL thought that the judge was going to come back, after overlooking the case, and go, "Oh, actually, we need to throw this out and throw it back down to the Ninth Circuit."
Yeah.
So I think the NFL was given a lifeline here, um, and if it does continue to go that way, I could see the NFL either completely winning this case, or the value, or not the value, but the money that was awarded going completely down.
Okay then. Huh. I mean, well, I think it's safe to say because court cases don't happen overnight. We're looking at another. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing just got settled for good around the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me because YouTube, I think their deal with DirecTV is a few years, so eventually that's going to be back on the market. But I think the NFL with this, their eyes may have opened up the where they need to have some other competition. For instance, Netflix buying the Christmas games. I could see the NFL doing that, where other streaming services, not necessarily a whole team package, but other streaming services carry a packages of games every year.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you know what? Switching over to the player side of the house. So, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa recently just signed a new deal. So it was originally thought to be a 4-year extension, but the final details revealed it was a 5-year extension. He got the bag, you all, 5 years, $235.571 million deal. Shine details, if you will.
Yeah, and like you said, we thought it was four. It would have been a record for a 4-year deal in terms of the average, but it's actually a 5-year deal. So the average is a little bit lower in terms of the record-setting numbers, but still 244 million, 171 million in guarantees. So the Dolphins are really locked into Tua now for 4 years. Um,
Mhm.
and I think it's a comfortable number for them. It's right around that 50 million range, which is where Lawrence is. It's where Burrow is.
Burrow, yeah.
It's where Love is gonna, where Love ends up once he signs his new deal a couple days later. Um, you know, I- all these guys are ended up in this 50 million range. Um, and like we've talked about before, I think what you're gonna see though, depending what happens, is Purdy is gonna push this envelope to the 60 million range, and then we're gonna see Mahomes jump in and maybe go to 70.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? The test, and you would think that the test, as far as that goes, is what's he going to do without Ayuk? Now, I know you still have C Mac, you still got Kittle, you still got Debo. Should he stay healthy? But I think this is it. I think this is the year for Purdy right here. Um, if he can take them at least back to the, then again, and I've had these discussions with John Shearer, shout out to him, and JB Ellis both. And I told him, I was like, listen, regardless of what anyone feels Brock Purdy is as a quarterback, the name of the game is paying the quarterback. And seeing as you had a dude who in his first year starting take them to the NFC Championship game, and then the next season take them to the Super Bowl, one would like to think he already pretty much earned his money, right? You know, but
Yeah, and
because I'm
especially I think when teams are searching for franchise quarterbacks, it's tough not to lock them up. And if you can lock them up only for 4 years, God forbid you made the wrong decision. You've got two down years and then 2 years to rebuild it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, well, C Mac got his money. That kind of frees things up and such. And then I was going back to Tua because Tyreek Hill got his money too, correct?
Yep, to his contract, the extension freed up some money. Tyreek Hill got a deal right in the same time period. He actually just restructured his current deal, but it added 65 million in guarantees, which makes it the most guarantees for a receiver over the length of his contract at 106 million. So that's the most notable thing from Hill's contract is he'll have the most guaranteed money for a wide receiver over the length of a contract in NFL history.
Yes, that is insane. And moving on to Jordan Love because he got his money too. 4 years, 220 million, $75 million signing bonus, a record-setting signing bonus. This is a dude coming off of first year starting, and whoa, he took him to the divisional round. First year starting. That we're talking about a Packers team that caught fire at the end of the season. People talked about my Texans being hot. The Packers were the next hottest team. I think they won 3 of their last 4, finished 9-8, got into the postseason, beat the Cowboys, almost beat the Niners in the NFC title game. But you know what? Here's one thing I will say about the Green Bay Packers: is this franchise, and shout out to Tyler Ingram. We've had many discussions about this. They have been blessed with 30 plus years of consistent quarterback play between Favre and Rodgers. And
Yep.
now this franchise sees something in Jordan Love. This Jordan Love's what, third year overall in the NFL? And for him to come out
Hmm.
like that is amazing. When Aaron Rodgers left the division, they thought it was the Lions to lose. Now the Lions did win the division last year, but the pack ain't going away, man. I mean, I think Minnesota's going to fall off a cliff. I also think the Bears are probably the unpredictable team. I don't expect them to do that good. Maybe 8 wins, but the division is out of the Packers and the Lions. But more on Jordan Love's deal. Go ahead.
Yeah, so his record, his signing bonus, like you mentioned, is record setting. The contract is not, but 4 years, 220 million, 100 million guaranteed, and 1 year, one void year for cap purposes. So really, it's a 3 year deal with, and they'll restructure it on the fourth year. But like you said, he's it's 1 year. He's taken them to the NFC divisional game last year. They played a very close game, but if that's the bar, then Purdy definitely gets 60 because
Mm,
he's got the NFC title game, he's got the Super Bowl appearance. And if Love's contract is any indicator of what a quarterback with a small window, um, or a small example, of what you're going to get from him can get. I mean, if that's where we're going to set it, is that 75 million is the signing bonus and 220 is the floor. I mean, I think you got Purdy on both of those, you get a lot higher.
yeah, no, absolutely. So with that being said, who is next up? We've got Ayuk on the books, who's going to the Patriots off the table. So Steelers of Browns. Trent Williams, he'll become the highest paid offensive tackle before the end of the preseason. So to close the show, give us your thoughts about that.
Yeah, and like you said, he turned down 32 million from the Patriots. This is no, it's obviously Ayuk wants the 28 to 30, but he also wants to choose his destination. Um, the Steelers are not offering what they want at this point. The Browns, it sounds like the Browns have the only offer on the table that the Niners would accept in terms of what's coming back in compensation. Ayuk obviously doesn't have a no trade clause, but when you give the player this type of freedom to go negotiate a deal with teams and then he rejects it, and then you've got to go search around again. At one point, you just throw your hands up and you go, okay, you could just play here
Yeah.
because they do have another year of control. They do not have to move him. And if he keeps declining deals where they're like, okay, go negotiate a deal, and New England was willing to give him 32, which would be the top of that receiver market, that smaller receiver market where Amon St. Brown is and Waddle is, that would have been the top of that little group of receivers. So for to turn that down, obviously he's trying to say he holds the cards, but honestly, the 49ers could just tell him he could sit out and they'll keep finding him. He's losing 50,000 a day right now.
Mhm.
So I expect this to come to a head shortly, but at the same time, they're not just going to trade him for free.
Exactly.
And then in terms of Trent Williams, I think it's just a foregone conclusion that since he's holding out, they're going to go ahead and boost him above where the Lions gave Payway his deal, make him the highest paid tackle again. It's really hard to argue why you wouldn't do it, other than making sure it's just shorter than 4 years since he is 36 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you got to think even at age 36, how much longer does he have? I know Jason Kelsey played till 36 years old.
Yeah, and Father Time is undefeated, so at some point it's gonna go.
Yep, absolutely. Well, with that being said, we're gonna close out the show, and oh man, it looks like the United States is gonna win the 4 by 100 meter relay. Yep, first place for the United States. There it is. All right, but thank everybody for tuning in. Next week, Sean, you think we get some boxing in next week, man? What you think?
Yep, next week we're gonna do what we did with the wrestling and do professional boxing for y'all.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, because we're all about all sports here on the Sideline Sports Network. So, for Sean Russell, I'm Denzel Snipes. Thank you for tuning in to Sports Business Insider.